Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the topic. And we were doing the Hyper-V, and there we talked about the basic working of Hyper-V. And so we were doing just introduction of Hyper-V. Did we talk about the storage? So there are two things that we need to talk about. And actually we were discussing switch, but we haven't created any switches, right? No. So let's do that. Yay. Okay, so networking and storage, of course, two most important things here. Okay, so we have I've just put here physical switch, and so those are not virtual, of course, so they are outside our virtual environment, but of course when they're connected to our network cards and to the servers, we have to have that traffic flow we have to keep that traffic flow going towards our virtual machine. So if we have this Hyper-V here, and we have virtual machine 1 and a virtual machine 2 here and virtual machine 3 here, so suppose that the virtual machine 1 is only supposed to be connected to physical switch 1, and virtual machine 3, suppose here, is supposed to be connected to only the physical switch, second physical switch here, right? So and we pretend that if these are the network cards here, these triangles, so we could create switches according to this requirement or any of those requirements. So I'm just going to keep creating those things here. Now this is virtual switch, and there are three types of virtual switches there, but and these are of course our VMs here. So VMs, virtual machines, and these are our network cards, or NICs. So NIC 1 and NIC 2. So here virtual switch is created right now by default in our environment, and that is external virtual switch. So there are three types of switches there. We're going to try to create a lab that actually represents our traffic flow that we imagine that if we create. So we're going to go follow that scenario there in order to understand how the networking in site Hyper-V can be configured. But there are three types of switches here, three types of virtual. So virtual switches. Now first is private virtual switch, and second is internal virtual switch, and then third is external virtual switch. So, and of course, according to different scenarios, we use these switches. Now, that's so once we have installed the Hyper-V role itself, an external virtual switch got created automatically. And with external virtual switches, the main thing is that they have to be mapped to some network interface card, right? So if there's an external switch here, so external V switch must map to a physical and physical NIC, right? External V switch. External V switch must map to a physical NIC, and the rule is that I could just add there, one external V switch must map to 1 or 11. One external virtual switch maps to one physical NIC. That's the rule of thumb. You cannot attach a virtual machine to a physical NIC. You cannot attach two physical network cards to one external virtual switch. You cannot attach two external virtual switches to one physical network card. So there are many ways, but if you just remember this rule of thumb here, one external virtual switch must map to one physical NIC. So we're going to create that scenario and we're going to try to understand that. But if there are three virtual switches here, what is the purpose of those three virtual switches, right? So let's go back to our server 2 and make sure that server 1 is up and running, and then we're going to go back to server 2 here and try to find out what is the purpose, why there are three, and in what scenarios we can use that. So I'm just going to log in from netadmin from server 2 now and open Hyper-V role there. So we have a virtual machine that has an operating system already installed, right? Yeah. So last time we installed Windows 2016 to the virtual machine. Cool. Okay, so server 2 is there, and if your server 2 is loaded, then just go ahead, tools, and go to Hyper-V Manager inside server 2. And it should look like this, and we have our virtual machine here right now running. Well, actually it's off. We have taken a snapshot here already. We have deployed the operating system, and we made sure that this virtual machine which is sitting inside Hyper-V has gotten its IP address from our DHCP, which is sitting on server 1. So we have full connectivity of server 2 and the Hyper-V and its virtual machine to our infrastructure here. Now if everyone's there inside Hyper-V, I hope everyone's there, right? Still loading. Oh, okay. So we can just discuss that there?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. And there's, it's okay, right? Okay. Oh, not K. Still loading? Okay. Okay guys, so here, server 2, let's right click the server 2 here, and we can see, we talked about Hyper-V settings here, but now we're going to go for virtual switch manager there. So server 2, right click, and then go for virtual switch manager. So go ahead and click on virtual switch manager on server 2, like this. I hope everyone's there. Now here we have already, the option is selected as new virtual network switch. There is already one external switch created by default, and it has been mapped to a physical network card as well. But we want to create our own switches, and we can just because of this physical switch, our virtual machine here is communicating with the infrastructure, or it is getting DHCP IP from this DHCP that is sitting inside. If we remove this external switch, of course, it's not going to get that communication with the infrastructure servers, right? So let's exactly do that. So we do not want our current current external switch here, because we're going to create our private switch, internal switch, and external switch. And we're going to try to check, oh, okay, so how do we do everything when we do customize all those switches. So first of all, there is this external switch created by default when Hyper-V was installed. So let's just get rid of it. If you click this switch here and go down to the options here, so do we all see here remove? Oops. Okay. Yep. So do not send any clicks, and you have to wait it out. It has too many tasks right now. So either we can just shut it down, or we can wait it out and it's gonna come back. So if we click more, it's gonna execute those as well. It's gonna process those clicks as well.
Can I do restart or not?
Well, that's gonna, if you want to, well, that's gonna take more time to recover.
I will wait for it.
But let's just try to understand that, and when you are there, I'll let you know where to go, or you can take mental notes, or if you have a lot of space in your camera. Okay, anyway. So here, I'm just gonna place that external switch here, and I'm going way down to remove button here. That only external switch we have, and we're just gonna click and remove it. So click remove. So you can see that it has strike out line is there, and we're just going to click apply after we click remove. As soon as you click remove, all options are grayed out now and it has been crossed out. So I'm just going to click apply here, and it says there pending changes may disrupt network connectivity. Yes, virtual machines which are connected to that will have that network disconnectivity, and of course we know that. So let's go ahead, and because we want to remove it and we want to create our own, so we're just gonna go ahead and click yes. And applying changes. Error.
Yeah. Pane while removing virtual switch.
That's it. Are there more information written there, Bill? Like
virtual switch cannot be deleted because it is being used by
oh, you started VM is started right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So cancel out from there. Guys, make sure that your virtual machine is off. Otherwise you won't be able to remove your external switch, right? So I've removed an external switch. Yeah. So guys, what we have done till now is just try to create our own switches. If I go back to the diagram here, so if this was the only switch here, we simply removed it. If that was the only way the virtual machines were communicating outside world, and we have just one virtual machine, so that external switch is now removed. Now virtual machine has nowhere to communicate without an external switch, right? So if I go back to, let's just go back to that area here. Now here virtual switch is gone, right? So if I press OK, let's just go ahead and press OK, because we clicked apply, it got removed. We got the proof that it's removed. Now do we see still our virtual machine there? So we can just right click the virtual machine, go to settings. We want to check if the virtual switch option is there or not. Still? Hey, how many clicks did you send? If it is more than 1,000, we need to wait. Less than 10. Yeah, well, if it's, yeah, okay, you can just, yeah, reboot. So settings here, and then we can just check here down network adapter. Network adapter, it was this virtual machine through its network adapter here was connected to an external switch that we just removed. So it is giving configuration error, or we can just select it as not connected, right? So configuration error or not connected. So and click apply. So of course now the only virtual switch we had is gone, right? I'm just gonna click apply here. Even if you don't select anything here, it's okay, it doesn't matter. It has no connection right now to the outside world. So the main thing is, let's just go ahead and create our own switches and talk about each switch type and what are the scenarios where we use those switches. So I'm just gonna go back to server 2 here and go to virtual switch manager. Again, now how many virtual switches we have here? How many virtual switches we have here that are working and connecting with the virtual machine connected right now?
None.
Yep, none. So we have no virtual switches created and working right now. We are about to create them. So new virtual switch, it is already there, and let's go for the private virtual switch first. So first of all, you must be on new virtual switch, network switch, and then on private. I hope everyone is there. Okay, accept. Okay, no exception. Oh, but we're understanding, right? Where we are. Okay, cool. So private switch. First thing, creates a virtual switch that can be used only by the virtual machines that run on this physical computer. So if the machine-to-machine communication is required only, but not to the outside world, then you can create a private switch. If we go for another diagram here, and suppose this is our Hyper-V physical server and we have virtual machines there. So if you want two virtual machines to talk to each other only and no one else, not to the host and not to the outside world, then in that case you can use private switch here, right? So if I just go ahead and create that switch here, private switch, and well, let's suppose this diagram is a private switch. So basically what is going on here is that this machine is connected to this switch, this machine is connected to this switch, and that's it. So if there was a NIC here, that would, oops, wrong diagram. So if there was a NIC here that was taking, that was supposed to take that out, this switch right now is not connected to this NIC. So this is not happening here. It is just connected to these two machines. So if you need a testing environment, then you create a private switch, right? Virtual machines will talk to only each other. They will not talk to the host. They will not communicate to outside world. They will only talk to each other. That's all. Suppose you have 10 machines. They are only communicating with each other, then that's it. So suppose you want to test some software and you don't want it to be affecting your production environment. So just create a private switch, connect those 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 machines there, one server and 9 clients, or 5 servers and 5 clients, just for testing. Suppose you're installing Citrix, suppose you're installing SQL Server, and you really want to mess them up and without affecting your production environment or any outside environment. So connect all those machines to a private switch. They will only communicate with each other, and that's it. So it's a perfect test environment, right? So they only communicate with each other. So that's private switch. And if we go for the next scenario here, which is, so I'm just going to create that internal switch here. Oh, it was this way. Okay, so internal switch. So let's just talk about that. First, we will create our private switch, and then we're going to go. Yep, you were saying?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have inside Hyper-V, we have one virtual machine, right? If
Yeah.
there was a second virtual machine, we could use that.
Yes, exactly.
create that virtual switch.
Even that one virtual machine, suppose you want to connect that to a private switch, and private switch is not further connected to anything, so that virtual machine is just all alone. Or you can remove the networking, but definitely we need for test environment at least 2. Definitely. Okay, guys. Private switch, we understand, right? Testing environment, only talk to each other. If we go ahead and go for, so let's just first create that private switch as well. So if we are on this screen and private is selected, let's just click create virtual switch. So once I click create virtual switch, let's just call it, instead of new, just put private. The rest is okay. So it's just private virtual switch, right?
Go back again.
Yeah, sure. Here, right? Okay. So this, and you know where that's?
So yeah,
Mhm.
why are you selecting private?
Because we want to just know how to create it.
Okay.
Okay, and know the purpose of that. That's it. So private switch, new virtual network switch, private, and create virtual switch. So I had already clicked that. Then once you're on this screen, just rename it to private switch. So we could identify that this is the private switch, and you can go down. So I've just changed the new to private. And second thing, it is not external switch. It is not an internal network. It is just a private network. So VLAN ID is also not supported, or VLAN is not supported here as well. You cannot have different traffic flow here. Now let's click apply here. So just we can create that private switch and press OK. So apply and OK, that's all, right? Now we create a private switch. We understand if we had 2 machines, and we're going to have 2 machines now after we do the import export lab as well. So we need to learn actually what is import and export, how to do that. But in that process, we're going to discuss the whole process, and then we're going to have the second machine as well, which will also have a operating system inside. So we don't have to reinstall operating system and wait for the whole installation again. We're just going to copy, export, and import, and have a second machine here as well. Okay, so server 2 here, I'm just going to right click again after creating the private switch. Let's go back to server 2 and go back to virtual switch manager again. Now we can see, yes, there's a private switch here. So let's go ahead and create internal switch now, just to know what is an internal switch and how it is created. So internal creates a virtual switch that can be used only by the virtual machines that run on this physical computer, and between the virtual machines and the physical computer there's a communication. An internal virtual switch does not provide connectivity to a physical network connection. So again, now if I create that diagram just to understand what is, okay, here if we go to the diagram, this communicates if the virtual machines are connected with internal switch, so they are communicating with each other and as well as to the host on which they are sitting, right? So if I go for private switch, VMs communicate with each other. Here internal switch, VMs communicate with each other and to the host. Only the other difference. Now, what is the difference? What does that mean? What's the significance here? So if they communicate with the host itself, where they're, so host is, who's the host here? If I go back here in this screen, where's the host? Who's the host here?
That's the server 2.
Exactly. Server 2 is the host. So this means that if internal machines need to copy some software there, internal machines need to have that internet connection from the host. Switch can communicate with the host, copy a software or get internet connection from that host. But normally it is just copy paste so any software SQL server you want to copy, or any big application you want to copy in the virtual machine. So first you connect it to internal network, copy that everything, making sure that it is still not communicating with the outside world, just with the host and the virtual machine. That's it. And you copy all the software, then you can move the network of virtual machines to a private network. Now I needed all the software. Thank you, internal network. Now I'm switching to private network. Now I can play with it, mess with it, crash it. But I'm sure that these virtual machines will not affect my physical network or anything on the host as well. It's not going to corrupt anything on the host as well, right? Because host is actually hosting all the virtual machines. If host gets corrupted, all virtual machines are affected.
Mm-hmm.
So disconnect from host as well. Now you can independently do all the labs if they are switched to private network. So switch it back to host, copy all the software. That's it, right? So it is still supporting any type of environment. So that's why internal is there. And guys, you see this external, internal, private here in hypervisor 2 of Microsoft Hyper-V, right? So we are sitting inside hypervisor 2 of VMware as well. This is VMware Workstation, which is hypervisor 2, right? So if I'm just giving you a comparison here, that if I right click here and go to settings here and network, so it has bridged NAT host only, and here you have external, internal and private. Pretty much same concepts that hypervisor 2 of VMware provides and hypervisor 2 of Hyper-V or Microsoft also provides. And if you go for any other hypervisor 2 like VirtualBox from Oracle, which is free actually, same concepts there as well. So well, there cannot be any other logical, unless they want to introduce some other feature. Yeah, it could be a totally new concept, otherwise they are same concept, right? Okay guys, so here internal virtual machines talk to each other and to the host as well. That's internal. So let's go ahead and create that. Click the internal and click the create virtual switch in order to just know how to create that. So create virtual switch, and instead of new, now of course we're going for internal virtual switch. Here you can see the features here, and enable virtual LAN identification for management operating system. So VLAN is available as a feature there if you want to divide the traffic of this virtual machine to a specific network card and then to a specific outside physical switch. Yeah.
So we can have all the three switches together at the same time.
All the three switches. You can have 10 private switches, 10 internal switches, 10 external switches at the same time.
Private
Yes.
switch basically communicates with the machine itself that are installed.
That's it. Yeah.
And then internal with the host. So external will be outside the host.
Exactly. That's the third level, where private virtual machines, external switch, which is upcoming actually. So, well, I was going to talk at that time, but yeah, external switch, virtual machines talk to each other, to the host, and to the outside world.
So do we have to disconnect first, or will be connected to each other?
At any given time, a virtual machine can be connected to how many switches?
One
Virtual
switch.
machine.
One
No, we didn't talk about virtual machine. We talked about one external switch. Virtual switch can connect to one physical network card. That's a rule of thumb. One external switch, which we are about to create now, can connect to one physical network. But now I'm asking, if I go to a virtual machine here, how many, anyone can guess that? Because I haven't shown that, I haven't talked about it. Anyone can guess one virtual machine. So suppose you have private switch, internal switch, external switch. So at one time, can one virtual machine connect to all three switches or not?
Yes.
You're saying yes. Anyone else? You're saying no. Anyone else? So one virtual machine at one time, at any given time, can be connected with all three of those switches at the same time. Is that yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And you're saying no, no, yes. You're still yes, right? Yes. Whatever they said. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. We're gonna actually prove that now. We're gonna actually do it. We're gonna prove it. Whatever. If you're anyone having second thought, let me know.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably yes because it's virtual, so you should be able to switch between.
Switch between means one time any one switch.
Yes.
If you're switching.
Yes.
But I'm saying simultaneously all three switches are connected to one virtual machine. Is that possible or not? Okay, so the guys, what happens here as well, this is also going to clarify your concept, that we can have as many physical networks. So this is a physical host having Hyper-V, right? I can have here 4 network cards, and suppose these are network cards, right? I can have here 8 network cards if I wanted, right? So as many network cards you can put as the physical server supports any number of network cards, right? But what about virtual machines? Can they support a network card in a virtual? How many network cards can a virtual machine support? It's a virtual machine. It's not a physical, right? It's not a physical machine.
So one network.
So one network card in a virtual machine is already there. So one network card is there. Yes. Can we have 2 network cards in a virtual machine? We can have 20 virtual network cards in a virtual machine. We can have as many. So this desktop is a client. Suppose client. So we can put second network card here if that PCI slot is there, or third network card, fourth network card, fifth network card. So we can put 1, 2, 3 network cards here as well. In any virtual machine, we're gonna actually add virtual network cards there. We're going to do that. Now, if there is one network card here, so it is connected to private switch. Second network card can be connected to internal switch. Third network card can be actually connected to external switch. Fourth network card could be connected to another external switch or private switch or internal switch. At the same time, I would not want to do that, but I can do that technically, right? If the reason is there. So I could just disable one network card. Whenever I know that this network card is connected to private, I would even rename the network card as PR NIC, private network, PRV NIC, and then INT NIC, internal NIC, and EXT2 internal NIC, external NIC, right? So whenever I want connectivity just to private, I will disable all other three. But technically, yes, we can connect one virtual machine with their 3 virtual network cards to 3 different virtual switches, right? It is possible. Technically, it is possible, right? And we're going to follow our scenario where actually we have to do that. Not exactly that, but it's going to really clarify our concept more, that what are the other networking options that we need to do. So,
One given time, only one network card can communicate with either of the switches.
Actually,
not all of them.
they can all communicate. Yeah, we can disable, but they can all communicate at the same time as well if the IP setting is there correct, and if technically IP conflict is not there and traffic is coming and going there. Yes, they can simultaneously communicate with 3 network cards. 2 network cards, yes, easily. 3, you must have a good reason that why would we want to do that technically. Yes, we can do that. Okay guys, so here internal virtual switch. So we're creating that, but you can see now that it's not private switch, so internal network switch, it cannot be connected. So private virtual switch and internal network switch cannot be mapped to a physical network card here, cannot be mapped, right? So internal network card, I've just selected that, and I am clicking apply here for the second or the internal network card. Now it is already also created. If it is created, Go ahead and apply and OK. So we create a second virtual switch there. So press OK. Now, if that is created, and we know the difference, private switch testing, only two virtual machines can talk to, only virtual machines can talk. So internal virtual switch, virtual machines can talk to each other and the host. Let's go for third virtual switch here, which is most widely used. But if we know the difference, if we know what is the purpose of that, we can use as many of whichever type, right? So I'm again on new virtual network switch. Let's go for external here and click create. Oh, but before that, creates a virtual switch that binds to the physical network adapter so that virtual machines can access a physical network. Okay, so it's pretty much clear here, right? Virtual machine accesses physical network. So if I go for the diagram here now, that's a third switch, and of course we get the idea here that if we put that here, that's external switch, and here of course that those two machines can be connected here as well, but not at the same time. I'm just saying that virtual machines can communicate here, but the only difference between the communication of virtual machines to the external switch and the network card is that only this switch has to connect. It's not connects to, it has to connect to a physical network card. Internal switch, no. Yep. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Mhm.
The Hyper-V Manager.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to install a virtual machine in there, or
We need a virtual machine. Last time we did, right?
we did last time?
Yeah. Oh, you were not. You were here,
No,
right?
I was there, because I don't see it now.
Oh, but it
Oh.
happened with me first time. I rebooted the machine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, reboot. Oh no. Okay. He just started the machine and it's like ah. Okay. So no,
Still hanging
it- oh. Mm-hmm. Is it slow? Oh. Okay. Guys, we need to transfer your machines to D drive. Maybe in break we can do that. So if it takes longer than during the daytime. So you cannot see the virtual machine. You can create a empty virtual machine as well. It's not compulsory to have operating system inside. We just took that trouble to install operating system. It's not like compulsory. Okay, guys. So here you can see the connectivity here. Private switch, yes, virtual machines are connected. Internal switch, virtual machines are connected. But external switch must be connected to a physical NIC and just one physical NIC. And suppose I have multiple external switches here. And I'm going to give you a scenario where, well, it is required. So external switch again, or maybe two. So if that is connected, suppose the virtual machines are communicating to that external switch as well. And that's a lot of lines now. But you can see the communication is that it has to be mapped to another physical network card here. When it's external switch, map it to a physical network card. So you will only create a external switch when you have extra physical network card, and you must have a good reason. So if I go for a one-liner here for what does external switch does? External switch. Yep.
Sorry.
No problemo.
So external switch would be a physical external switch?
External virtual switch. So we're talking about the external virtual switch that we just created. We're about to create now.
Okay.
So we created a private virtual switch, then internal virtual switch, now external virtual switch and external virtual switch.
Okay.
So external virtual switch. And why is it called external virtual switch?
Because connected to the physical network.
Yeah, it is the source of connectivity with the outside world for virtual machines. So internal will keep the communication internal. Private will keep the communication internal within the Hyper-V environment. External is the only virtual switch created inside Hyper-V that lets the machine communicate outside of Hyper-V to the physical switches and physical networks, right? So it's external virtual switch. Mm-hmm. External virtual switch. Well, can you connect two switches together? Is that the question? No, it's good question. No, you cannot. No. So you can. So switches. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm asking too many questions.
No, please do.
So that is
Most
the,
welcome.
That is the physical network card of server 2.
Yeah. So let me just go there, and this is this card you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So this whole line is one physical server,
Right.
and Hyper-V is installed, and this is a second network card, physical network card
Physical
in
network.
Hyper-V.
Right.
So these are all physical NICs, physical. Yeah. So if so, normally when you buy a server, it could be 2 network cards. You can order. You could order 4 network cards or 8 network cards, physical network cards, right? So, but virtual switch, when we come down to virtual switch, now we're going to do the whole lab. We're going to go and play with the switches. We're going to try different options there. So, until we are good with that. So, but we need to understand why are we doing that, right? So, if I go back to the one-liner here, VMs communicate. So, when it comes to external switch here, VMs communicate with each other, to the host, and to outside world. You know, one-liners are always good to understand exactly what's the purpose of the feature I'm about to use here. So VMs communicate with each other to the host and to outside world. So external switch, VMs do whatever private and internal do, but also they communicate with the outside world because they are the only switches, external virtual switches, that actually connect to a physical network card, and through that they communicate outside this Hyper-V as well, right? So do we understand that? Any questions till now? So it's clear, right? Now I'm gonna ask quiz questions. Okay, so let's go ahead, guys, and pretty simple, straightforward for now, but let's go a little deeper. So let's just go ahead. We were creating an external switch here. Now, private switch, internal switch, and we have selected external switch. So go ahead and create virtual switch, which is external now. Okay, so here instead of new, we're putting just external first thing, right? And external virtual switch. Then of course you need a physical network card here. And last time it just gave that name here to the external virtual switch, but we are renaming that external virtual switch here, right? So allow management operating system to share this network adapter, enable single root IO virtualization, input output virtualization. So whatever networking is going on in the virtual machine, so try to handle the bandwidth in a smart way. This is single root IO virtualization or input output of bandwidth coming from the virtual machines. But we can also go for VLAN ID here, and we can just choose VLANs from outside. Suppose you have 2 physical switches and or 1 physical switch outside in physical switches, right? So you can create 1 VLAN and 2 VLAN there. So if I go to the diagram here, this one, so in this physical switch, if you have VLAN 1, VLAN 2 here, through proper physical network card, you can actually connect inside virtual machines by assigning them VLAN, VLAN 2 inside as well. So suppose you do decide that if you've done CCNA, you would know, we all know VLAN. We did discuss that before. VLAN, virtual LAN. Okay, so anyone can tell me in a very easy, in English, yeah, easy English. VLAN is that physical switch is further divided into 2 networks, where so I can just go for this. So I suppose there are this is a 24 port switch, and they all communicate with each other. Now 24 machines are further divided into 2 groups, and they cannot, so 12 machines here, 12 machines there, they cannot ping each other, they cannot communicate with each other. And our
it's a traffic distribution.
Exactly. So you could just create smaller networks within one network, right? So virtual LAN. This is a physical switch where you can do that. But how about if you are connecting to a port here? So if this port is, so this VLAN 1 is connected to NIC 1, and this VLAN 2 is connected to NIC 2. And then what you did inside, you created another external switch here, right? External virtual switch. Whenever I say external switch, it's an external virtual. In fact, I should write that virtual switch. That's a second internal. So now we're inside the Hyper-V, right? So we can just make that communication further by this NIC is connected to this and external virtual switch inside Hyper-V, and this NIC is connected to only this external virtual switch inside Hyper-V. Now, and then this switch is connected to just this virtual machine, and this switch is connected to just this virtual machine. So we are making sure that virtual machine 1 here is communicating with an external virtual switch that we just created, and it is connected to a physical NIC which is actually connected to outside world physical switch here, and that physical switch is this half part, VLAN 1, it is communicating with. And VLAN 1 machines only can communicate with each other and with the virtual machine 1 that is sitting inside the Hyper-V. So this means also that VLAN 2, 12 virtual physical machines, they cannot communicate with virtual machine 1. So if I say now VLAN 2 virtual machines cannot communicate with this first virtual machine, is that true or is it false? So VLAN 2 virtual machines cannot communicate with this machine. Is it true or is it false?
True.
So you're saying true. You're saying true. So VLAN 2 physical machines cannot communicate with a virtual machine here.
So is it connected to some other switch or not?
That's it. That's the only connection they have, which I drawn on the board. Cannot? Okay. Cannot. Good. No. So everyone's. So your no is not with confidence. It's like no.
I thought
You're like
no connection. I just saw the connection.
Oh, okay. So yeah, with confidence. So guys, VLAN 2 machines can only communicate with this one. True or false?
True.
VLAN 2 machines can only communicate with this virtual machine here. True or false?
True.
Okay. So we can actually make this inside Hyper-V. You can have 50 virtual machines inside one Hyper-V, and they have totally different traffic flow. They are not touching each other at all. They are not communicating with each other. They cannot even ping each other while they are living inside one same Hyper-V. Because of these switches, you can just change the whole network flow. You can keep it separate within one Hyper-V to the outside world. They are totally separate, right? So if we create external switch and physical NIC, and physical NICs are actually connected to separate physical switch, you have a total separation of data flow going on within one physical switch. Or I could have just created here, instead of the VLAN 1, VLAN 2 here, I could have just connected this physical NIC to a second switch. Now it's totally different. It was still totally different because VLAN also do not let you communicate with each other. It was totally different anyway. But second physical switch, it's different again.
So the objective is to make the traffic flow smooth?
So the objective is, if the requirement comes that, oh, this virtual machine, no matter if it is inside same Hyper-V, I don't want them to be communicating with any other virtual machines here because it is our CEO's virtual machine, and CEOs and directors are connecting to this. Suppose that's a scenario. You want to have different data flow, and virtual machines living inside same Hyper-V must not be communicating with each other. If you want a total separate data flow going on, then you can achieve that as well.
Maybe
That's the main purpose.
different
Yeah.
sectors.
While it gives us the impression that, oh, if you put the virtual machine inside here, they have to communicate with each other. Of course, they are in the same Hyper-V. No, the whole data flow can be separated from outside environment to inside environment to virtual environment. They have no idea that the next virtual machine is actually existing even there or not, but they are still sharing the memory and processor here. That's where you have to be smart, and you need to know that what is the pressure, which virtual machine on the peak times have a lot of users, and it starts requiring a lot of memory during peak hours and a lot of processing. So then you have to be smart and try to allot proper memory and processing resources to the critical virtual machines. But the discussion is all about if you want to have separation of data flow, you can achieve that easily from within the Hyper-V. That's the only purpose of what I'm talking about now. So if I have just one external switch, simple. Connect all virtual machines to that external switch. They communicate with each other, with the host, and with the outside world. Simple. If there are any more complicated scenarios, yes, every kind of scenario can be supported in a virtual environment as well, right? So that was the purpose of this. But we're going to go ahead and try to actually create one scenario. We're going to work on virtual machines. We're going to actually configure the whole thing so we can guarantee, hey, it's not possible that these virtual machines can communicate with each other now. And we're going to do that now, right? But anyway, until this, any questions till now? Okay, so separation of data flow can be achieved if we can, if we know which proper virtual switch is to be connected to which virtual machine in order to achieve what kind of separation of data flow, right? So this diagram just simply explains that, but we're going to try to do it and try to understand that. Now, suppose this is a scenario. First virtual machine cannot communicate with virtual machine 3 here. They are separately connected to either different sections of the switch, VLANs, or they are separately connected to this physical switch. But what if your boss says, after 1 year, 2 years, hey, we want virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 3 to communicate with each other as well as to the current data flow. Don't disturb the current data flow, but they need to be communicating with each other as well from time to time.
Create a
Add a private switch.
Good. Oh, that was fast. Okay. Yes, create a private switch here inside Hyper-V and add a second network card here on both machines. So first network card is connected to external switch of each. The second network card will be connected to the private switch that we create. And they will have, when you want them to share data, okay, connect to private switch is already connected. It's not connect to there. Just try to use that connection and share the data with each other, or you can just disrupt that communication by on the weekend just say there's a downtime and then disable that network and enable that network, but simultaneously you can have those connections as well.
But again, that's gonna leave some impact on the memory and processor, right?
Well, if they're communicating with each other with a second network card, no, they have no impact on memory and processor. Yeah, it's just communicating some files, sharing some files. So we can simultaneously, use external switch, internal switch, private switch in any scenario. But this seems like, you can create internal switch and connect these two machines with each other with a second virtual NIC that you add inside the machine. So we're going to do that now as well. So if we understand these scenarios, let's just go ahead and create that external switch as well, and then come back with a scenario in order to complete this, completely understand all the major components of networking inside Hyper-V. So we're back to our diagram here. Actually, the lab, not diagram. Seriously. So there's external switch, and we have VLAN here available, and we have external switch, but there's a network card here, right? Let's click apply. Pending changes may disrupt network connectivity. Yeah, that's the message always there. So press yes. And, well, applying changes. Okay. Well, it's done for me, so press OK. Go ahead and press OK. Okay, so here, now we can see, we have 3 virtual switches now, right? So if you have virtual machine, well, we should all have. So did it appear, virtual machine?
Yeah.
Okay. The old one appeared, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So it was a restart.
Yeah.
Cool. Tissue. Okay, so right click here, VM01, and click settings for the virtual machine. Right click virtual machine, go to settings. Now we again go to the network adapter of this virtual machine, and where it was not connected, now we see all 3 switches there that this virtual machine can connect to. Any of those, right? So we're all seeing that, right? 3 virtual switches. Now, well, we can connect to any one of those. Well, better connect to external virtual switch. So the poor guy could receive those IP from DHCP, that IP from DHCP, right? So external virtual switch is there, and apply. So I've just connected the virtual machine to external virtual switch. I hope everyone did that. And so here we have enable virtual LAN identification. If there was VLANs being used outside, we could connect it to the external switch that is connected to one VLAN, and then add another external virtual network card inside the virtual machine, which we're going to do now. But there's a second thing here, bandwidth management here. So what is bandwidth management? Enable bandwidth management. So normally I would not touch that. So it is about, okay, a virtual machine. Suppose you install SQL Server inside this VM01, and that SQL Server from time to time really needs a lot of, it's sending data a lot and it's receiving a lot of data, right? So what happens here is that you think that, okay, your bandwidth monitoring tool is saying, oh, that's a lot of data. It's taking all the bandwidth from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, which is the peak hours, right? So you actually put a tap onto that, and you put here, okay, 10 Mbps or one Gbps or 1000 Mbps, not more than 10,000 Mbps. It should be sending that data. But if you put a cap to the maximum data, now it always requires a lot of bandwidth when there is a legit reason, when there is a legit business reason for that, right? So if you put a cap on that you cannot go up from 5000 Mbps more than that, and it really requires, and there are some legit users connected and they are doing their work. So you are actually really disrupting that productivity during the office hours, and they will get errors when extra users try to connect. They will get errors that, okay, you cannot connect, there is no, we cannot find that file, or some kind of those weird errors. But I would not put that there, but I would just monitor it from the bandwidth monitoring tool or some monitoring tools, and then I would try to increase, I would add a second network card or third network card and do a NIC teaming so more bandwidth could be acquired. I would upgrade my Ethernet cables to Cat6e, and having the highest bandwidth, right? So I would just go for upgrading my infrastructure instead of putting a cap on this, especially if it's a critical server, right? That it is using a lot of bandwidth. There is a reason that it is using it, but there could be malfunction, there could be virus attacks as well, there could be other reasons. If that's the case, so properly investigate and then go ahead and upgrade your infrastructure. But if it's some other reason that it is increasing in bandwidth because of virus attack or malware attack, yes, you need to solve that problem instead of putting a cap here. In that case as well, I would not actually stop it, but if it is really disrupting the whole environment, yes, I would. I would just try to stop it, but then you have to, So anyway, I will not be, in a very rare scenario, I would be handling the bandwidth here if it is using too much. And for the time being, if other applications, suppose there's a virtual machine here, there are 3 more virtual machines which are equally critical. Then you have to decide something. Then you can come down to this. Okay, they need it, and we cannot have funds approved to increase our or improve our infrastructure, so go ahead and put a cap on that. Okay, so the option is here that if the application is using a lot of bandwidth, virtual machine, so you can stop it. Anyway, it is there, we should know that. So we just connected again with our we just created external virtual switch and we connected to that. So let's go ahead and apply, and okay. So now the scenario for the network. Now let me explain the scenario here. We're going to work on or creating that same scenario that we were just talking about, and I asked you true and false for that. So how is it actually configured in our environment? So first of all, I'm just gonna go for another diagram here quickly, and this is our server 1 here, and here we right now have 1 virtual machine, so we're gonna need another virtual machine here. So second thing, we have already a private switch here, and an internal switch here, virtual switch, and an external virtual switch. We're going to need another external virtual switch, and we already have here 1 network card. We're going to need another network card, physical network card here. All we need to do is that we need to properly connect this virtual machine. So we're gonna assume that this is Toronto file server, and we're gonna assume this is New York file server, NYFS, right? So we're going to dedicate one switch for Toronto traffic, and we're going to dedicate one switch to New York traffic. So we're going to create Tor switch, Tor SW, which will be an external. So EX Tor SW, and we're going to create EX Tor NY. So EX actually NY switch, not Tor, NY. So now this switch, external virtual switch, is dedicated for Toronto traffic. This external virtual switch is dedicated for New York traffic. Now, if this is done, then we're going to go for dedicating Tor NIC. So this physical network card is responsible for Toronto traffic. This NY NIC will be responsible for New York traffic. And we are assuming that there are physical switches outside here that are, okay, I still have that diagram, I think. Oh, where is it? Okay. So now we're assuming that, and we're going to configure that, and we have to go to those places and check that how can we configure it. So it's going to be a little different when we are actually doing that. So, okay, did I copy that? Whoa, what's wrong with you? Okay. Okay, so let's not do that. I think it's not cooperating with me. So this is a physical switch. Just assume that. And this is another physical switch. We don't have physical switches, so we're just going to assume that anyway. Until the virtual environment, we're going to configure everything by going to those places and trying to configure that. So this will be Tor physical SW, and the other will be NY physical switch. So what we are pretending here is that these physical switches exist, but these physical switches will be then communicating. So Tor will be only connected to, of course, this Tor NIC. Tor physical switch will be connected to Tor NIC, and New York will be connected to this. And then Tor NIC will be connected to this external Toronto virtual switch, and of course this will be connected to this, and then this will be connected to this, and this will be connected to this, right? So these diagrams are drawings are a little confusing, but you need to know that suppose there are 8 switches connected there. You have to know exactly how the mail flow is going or how the data flow is going, right? So it is always more complicated than this in production environments. So I'm just this is private switch already that we don't have to. Actually, we're gonna be doing that as well. Private switch, and this is INT or internal switch, INT switch. Guys, we're going to use private switch as well. Now, that's going to get tricky, but we'll understand that. Now, we are connected to the Tor switch with the first NIC that is inside the virtual machine. Now, after we have accomplished that, we're going to create a second NIC inside the 2 virtual machines, and that second NIC is what I was asking for the requirement that, okay, if the boss says, okay, connect it to private switch as well, so will you be able to do that? So we will be able to connect the 2 servers with the second virtual NIC to the private switch as well. So they are connected to with a totally separate data flow from their machine first NIC to the Tor switch, to the Tor NIC, to the Tor physical switch, and New York the same way. But they can be connected with a second virtual NIC here to the private switch as well. So that's how we can play with those the external switch, external virtual switch, and private virtual switch or internal virtual switch, right? So do we understand our plan first of all? Any questions till now? So, sorry?
What are we planning to do?
Inside of private switch, we could actually use internal switch, because if you want to copy something from the host to these servers, so it could be either private switch that these second NICs could be connected either to the private switch, or these second NICs could be connected to an internal switch as well. So if it is totally private, this means only these 2 machines need to talk to each other. External, you want to copy something from there. So it could be any of those.
So if let's say 2 VM machines are connected to a private switch, right? Let's say one VM is connected to the host through private switch, right? So other machine will be able to communicate with the second VM machine. first VM machine or no?
So the second virtual machine has to just be connected to the private switch as well.
As well?
To the same private switch if they want to communicate with each other. If they are connected, if the second virtual machine is connected to an internal switch.
So, that's it.
Mhm.
One VM is connected to the private switch, right? And second one is not connected.
Mhm.
So it means they are communicating. VM1 is communicating with the host, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if we connect the second switch, second VM to the private switch, will they
Mhm.
communicate with each other or no?
So if first VM is connected to private switch, second VM is connected to internal switch, right?
Yes.
Suppose. So then you can you may disconnect the second machine from the internal and reconnect it to the private switch.
So why we need internal switch then if we have to?
No, I'm just giving the example if we need them to communicate with each other.
Like if
Yeah.
we can do it by the private switch, what's the need of that?
Private switch is not going to let you communicate your virtual machines to your host as well. Suppose you're actually testing a virus there with an antivirus software. You're testing an antivirus software and trying to put some viruses inside and then you want to check. So this virus should not be connecting to host as well. It should not escape there. Or suppose it's a corrupt operating system that you're trying to actually troubleshoot. Hey, what happened? Suppose it happens to my physical server. But that corruption or that corrupt file or that virus filled file is not somehow transported to the physical host or actual host here. So the thing is that you can, if you have private switch, you can connect the virtual machines to that and then you can mess with it. You can do anything you want without even affecting the host itself. Because if it affects the host, everything else also get affected. So private switch is actually very, very important. Internal switch, yes, we really need to transfer some files. So that is also very important. So these are just simple scenarios. If you need it. If you have that scenario, use that. If you don't have that scenario, don't use that. All right, guys. So if this is clear, so let's go ahead and let's try to implement it. Now, step by step, we need to do. Now, you know what? About the two machines, we have just one machine. Oh, okay. No, just kidding. So, about the second machine, there are two ways we can get the second machine.
We can copy this machine.
We can just create a new machine without an operating system. Second way is we can import export by learning the topic import export as well, right? Well, this topic is coming anyway. Import export. How to import a machine? How to export a machine and how to import a machine. That topic is coming. Either, if we don't get confused, we can create the second machine by import export, export import, or we can do just create a new virtual machine. That's it, and go ahead with finish our first lab. Then we go for that topic import export. What is that, and how do we do that? So we can take care of two topics in one shot, or we can just create a new virtual machine and let's separate the two topics.
That's
Come-
fine.
If we-
Easy to understand.
Yeah, easier to understand is that both are easier to understand. If I need a second machine, right? But I
We
want.
already did the first one, right?
Hmm.
We already did
Yeah, how to create a virtual machine.
yeah, same thing.
So import export is just that it's coming in the way. So let's just learn that as well, and then we come back to our main scenario here.
Right.
So-
But, before
Mhm.
we do that,
Mhm.
should we move all the VMs and everything to SSD?
For import export.
No, for like in general going forward, or
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that. So all our VMs are on C drive right now. C. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So guys, it's
So
gonna
fine.
yeah, and the next lab most probably will be failover cluster. That lab is needing four virtual machines. So at two virtual machines, we are like crying. Exactly, it's slow. So is it okay that we can spend the time shifting the machine to our SSD drive now, which will be I think half an hour? Do you want to do that? Well, it's going to be terribly slow with future labs now.
So if we do that, we'll be faster than the labs after.
Afterwards, all labs are faster. Not very, 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 very fast, but
Do
faster.
it then.
Okay, how many are in favor? Are you in favor?
We should do it.
Let's make our network fast. Okay, so that is, I'm just going to write that and then let's do that. I'm going to show you what to do because I'm using my laptop. Okay, you can also use your laptop if you want. But anyway, since you're using the desktop machine, so I'm just going to tell you how to do that. But I'm just putting it down because later we don't want to forget that. So the main scenario of keeping data flow separate. That's the first main lab. And sub lab, okay, never used that word before. Sub lab is that we're gonna do export import as well. Export import to learn this topic as well as create a second machine that will be used for the first topic. So I'm gonna keep on making sure that we understand what we're doing, right? So while this is our main here plan, so let's just move our machines to our SSD drive. So first of all, guys, in order to move our virtual machines to SSD drives, so I'm just gonna go for another paintbrush here. Seriously, do I have to explain that here? Okay. Anyway, so you have your physical desktop here, and you have here 2 disks, and where our machines are in the C drive. Now, first of all, you have to identify what is the drive letter of your SSD. For some it is D, for some it is E. Okay, for you it is D. Okay, is it? So you have to, on your physical machine, go to your yellow folder or the file explorer. On your physical machine, yours is
D.
D. D. E. D. E.
Yours is already full.
Oh, I have to delete someone. Okay, somebody's stuff. Yours is E. And Ali, yours? D. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do that. So it is either D or E SSD machine drive. Now everyone has at least 100 GB of free space in E or D. Please check that. Anyone has less than 100 GB in SSD? Anyone has less than 100 GB can raise his or her hand. Less than 100 GB in SSD? Okay. Any space at all?
She only have
4 GB. Oh, that's less than 100 GB. Okay.
GB. She don't need to have.
Yeah, you're supposed to raise hand. Seriously. Okay.
All instructions, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So everyone else has more than 100 GB, right?
Yes.
So, okay. Guys, what's the plan here? The plan is...
And leave me behind, sure.
No, I'm just gonna fix that by coming there. But I'm just showing the plan which will be for everyone, right? So here, let's just go to our virtual machine here. So guys, our server 1 here and server 2. Yep. Exactly. So I was gonna say about this. So guys, let's go to server 1 first and right click server 1. I want to show you something. Settings, server 1. Let's go to settings, server 1. I hope everyone is there. Do you see options tab there? Options tab. So in the options tab, it is on general, and do you see on the right side working directory?
Yes.
We all see that, right? Working directory. So we can select the whole thing here, working directory, select all and Control C to copy that, or just right click and copy the whole path, right? Once it is copied, everyone has copied that, and then we go to our physical desktop Windows 10 Windows icon there, right? Physical desktop, and right click and run. So we want to go inside the folder structure of our virtual machine where they are living right now. So if I go to run, all I need to do is right click and paste or Control V. Now you see that full path that you copied from there. You see it in the run. When you press OK, go ahead and press OK. So you will be inside this messy folder. So it is server 1 and my name. So if you can see the previous folder here, that's where all your virtual machines are living right now, right? So if we go one step back, one folder up, virtual machines. So because we named it with our name, right? You should be recognizing your 2 or 3 virtual. Actually, we have 3 total virtual machines, right? One is server core as well. So do we see our 3 virtual machines?
Yes, we have.
Now this is the folder that is already open, right? So minimize that folder. Don't close it. Minimize it only. And of course, we need to shut down all three first. So go back here, server 1, right click, power, shut down guest. Power, right click, shut down guest. Server 1, server 2, go ahead, right click, power, shut down guest. We never started the VM. And server core, in my case, is already shut down. If it's not, right click, shut down power guest. Oh, power and shut down guest. Power guest. Okay. So once they are shut down, now guys, we have to be a little careful here. Please follow this specific instructions if you want your machines to be safe. There's a public computer. The others see, oh, whose machines are there? Right click, delete. Okay, whoa, that was fun. No, it's not fun. Maybe they need space. And sometimes some people get really selfish and they sell fish. Okay, no, they don't sell fish, but they become selfish. Server 2, what's wrong with it? It's not shutting down. Alright guys, so while it's shutting down, we don't care about that. Please do this. Go to file. We need to create a folder structure inside your SSD. So if you create a folder structure, your machines are safe from being deleted. If you don't create a folder structure, it's not safe. So go to new virtual machine here. Everyone there? New virtual machine, file. And now this, of course, from day one, we know what is that. So everyone on typical? Next. Okay, just select the I will install the operating system later. This is a sample virtual machine that is going to create a folder structure in SSD for us. So I will install operating system later. Just put that. We don't need this virtual machine actually. Next. Yes, it's 2016 or 10, doesn't matter. Next. Here, very important. First of all, do not touch the line below it, right? The bottom line. But now you know what is your SSD drive letter. If it is E, instead of C, type that. If it is D, instead of C, type that, right? So your SSD drive letter, instead of C, type that drive letter. So in my case, it is D. So that's the only thing I'm doing now. So this is going to guarantee that your machines will be safe, because others will log in from their account. From their account, they cannot access this account. If this is the folder structure, Windows will secure your machines. So if you put your drive letter there, go ahead, next. Don't change anything. 60 GB, it doesn't matter. We're not using this machine. So if it is 60 GB, next, just leave it like that. Next, we're not connecting this machine, not using this, so don't change anything in customized hardware as well. Just go ahead and click finish. So here, now, if that's the case, now I just want you to confirm if your folder path has been created there or not, because you'll be able to access that. So if this is done, can you go down to File Explorer or the yellow folder of your physical desktop now? Go to that and go to your SSD D or E drive. Go to your SSD drive now, which is either D or E. If I go to SSD drive, I should be seeing a users folder there now. Everyone sees a users folder. So go ahead inside the users folder. Are you able to go inside? Do you see your course name folder there from the account you logged in? So go ahead. Do you see documents there after that? Go ahead. Do you see virtual machines? Go ahead. Now, are we all inside that virtual machine folder where one virtual machine is created right now? Right? This is your destination for your 3 virtual machines now. So what you just opened now is your destination. In this folder, you need to copy paste the virtual machines that are sitting in your C drive. Exactly copy them from there and paste it exactly inside this folder where your one virtual machine is sitting now, right? So how do we do that? Do we still have that yellow folder open from that virtual directory? No? Yes? So or just don't lose this path. So keep this folder open. And you can just go back to server 1 here, server 1 which is shut down, right? And if you somehow close that folder, previous folder, so I'm just showing you the virtual directory path again where your virtual machines are living right now. So right click in settings. If in case that folder is still not open, right click settings and options and general, and this is the working directory. If in case you close this folder, right, So copy this, and I'm just going to copy that again, go to run, and there is the path. So now my all virtual machines are here. So I'm just going to select my virtual machines one by one. Please go ahead, do yours. You don't need to see that, right?
Can we do it all together?
Yes. Select all three and just paste it to that SSD folder path. Do we understand that now? Do we understand that? Have we started this?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to come to your machines and check if it is going on fine. You can ask my help. Fine. Okay guys, so we're back from the break, and we hopefully all have copied that, but guys, be careful here. Now let's try to identify our machines. The next step is, let's do it carefully. Next step is we need to give the path of the new machines. We need to give the new path to the VMware workstation for the machines, right? Now here, let me just show you. So these machines which are already there, so you can hover over that on the left side. Go ahead and hover. So when you hover over that C drive, it starts with C. If I go to the second one, it starts with C as well. Third one, it starts with C. Everyone is seeing that, right? So definitely instead of that, your SSD drive letter should be showing here. So we're going to add those machines first. We're going to make sure they are added there, and then we're going to get rid of the C drive machines, right? So those machines have been copied, right? For everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So go to File, go to Open, and you need to go to that path. So it is your drive letter in the left side. Go to that drive letter and just go to Users and go to, this is not the, I didn't change my machine because my C drive is actually SSD. So virtual machines, if you go there, your machine should be showing there, right? So select the first, double click the first machine, the top machine, the first machine, right? When you double click the first machine, you should be seeing a VMX file like this. Just double click it and it's gonna get added there. So if I test VMs, oh, this is somebody else's machines. So double click. I'm just gonna come to you here. Okay, so this kind of file is showing there. If you see that, you have to double click and it's gonna get added there. So this kind of file, just double click that and it's gonna get added. So if I double click that now, it's gonna go way down here. It's gonna be added at the bottom on the left side. Yeah. Did you double click that? Yeah, one by one. So when you double click that, at the end, after double clicking, go way to the bottom and you should be able to see that file there, way in the bottom. So now if you add any file, second thing is that these stars, as soon as I'm going to come to your machine now one by one. So if you see these stars here, as soon as the machine is added, you can add the star like this. So when you add the star, this means these are the newly added machines. Now I'm going to come to your desk just to check if everything is okay or not. Resume here. So once we have copied and added all the machines like this, so first you will hover over that machine and see if it is C drive. Make sure that C drive machines are you're selecting. Then select the machine on the C drive, and then I just right clicked and it needs so make sure first hover its C drive, then right click and go to manage this one, and make sure that you see delete from disk option there. So first hover over there, it is C drive, then right click it and then go to manage, and this one delete from disk. So be very careful if by mistake you deleted the D drive one. That's it. No comments. There is no way you can recover. Well, it's gonna go to your recycle bin, hopefully, if it's not very big. If it doesn't go to your recycle bin, then it's gone forever. So just hover over that. If it is C, if you see C, then right click, manage, and delete from disk. If you have deleted all 3 days, template machine, if it is in C, leave it, don't delete it. But any other machine, any of your other machines, just delete that, right? If you use somebody else's machine, don't do that. So are we okay with that? Okay, resuming now. So let's make sure that our only D drive based or SSD based machines are started. If that's the case, let's go ahead. I'm just going to start my machines now as well. Actually, only the 2 machines, not the third one. Okay, so guys, that's a good thing. We were supposed to do that any time, so it's good that we did it now. Because in most probably by the end of today's lab, we need to create a third machine as well. We need another Hyper-V, although we have a server core here as well. Because for live migration and replica, we need to have another Hyper-V. So, server core, I'm just gonna close that. Okay, so we're starting the lab as well again, and let's go back to what we were doing and let's start doing that. So main scenario for of keeping data flow separate, so we're gonna actually try to configure those areas, those features, those tools that will help us achieve this objective here, right? Now sublab. Well, if I hope everyone's machines are started. So are we logged in from server 2? We're logging in, right? Server 2. So admin, make sure you're logged in from server 2 and also open Hyper-V Manager, right? Hyper-V Manager. So I'm in server 2 and clicking tools and going for Hyper-V Manager. Now I'm inside Hyper-V Manager and VM01 is there. So everyone is inside Hyper-V Manager? Yes, 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 right? Yes, yes, okay, yes. Okay guys, so let's go ahead. If we go back here, let's do the sub lab first, which is just, I need to create a second virtual machine, but in that process, we're gonna learn how to export and import. Export and import does not create a second machine, right? But we wanted to learn, and we can have forcefully a second machine as well. But export and import is not there for the purpose of creating a second, third, fourth, fifth machine, right? It's not the purpose. In VMware, we have clones. We can create clones. In Hyper-V, without the central application, which is called SCVMM, and we discussed that before as well. SCVMM, System Center Virtual Machine Manager. That's the central enterprise application that controls, that has a lot of advanced features. Oh, we didn't talk about it. You know, in many classes I talk about that, so sometimes I confuse that. Oh, did I talk in this class? Okay, I white here, you know. So SCVMM, and this is Systems Center family of products. There are many System Center products there. System Center Operations Manager, SCOM, System Center Configuration Manager, SCCM, and then there is System Center Virtual Machine Manager, SCVMM, Virtual Machine Manager, right? So if you have that, suppose you have a VMware environment, so there it is vCenter, that is the enterprise application that controls the whole VMware environment. Here in Microsoft, it is SCVMM that controls the whole virtual environment of Microsoft or Hyper-V. So if we have that, you can easily clone as many machines as you want because all advanced features are there. If you don't have that central enterprise application, which license you have to purchase, of course, it's not cheap, it's expensive. So if you don't have that, then these are manual ways that you have to create your copy of virtual machine. One way is, right now we went to the folder, we copied the folder, right? In that was VMware Workstation based. You can go to Hyper-V disks as well, and then create copies of Hyper-V disks as well. So if we have a virtual machine created here, we can go to the torfs.vhdx. .vhdx is what? Anyone remembers that?
The hard disk extension.
The virtual hard disk extension of the virtual machine. .vhdx. We can right click and create a copy of that and attach it to a new virtual machine as an existing disk. There we have copy again. You can create as many copies of the VHDX virtual disk, and those will be 10 copies, 20 copies, and keep on attaching it to newly created virtual machines that only offers memory and processor, right? There is this process if you don't have central enterprise application called SCVMM, but that's a separate course. It is separate topic as well. But you need to know in production environment, you need to have this centralized application. If you have like 10 or 20 Hyper-V hypervisors, then you need that. Okay, so but we're going to go for export import because that's a separate topic, but it also helps us get a new virtual machine as well. The main purpose of export import is exactly as the name says. You can export a virtual machine and put it in your USB stick, take it to your some other branch, and just import it in that Hyper-V environment. So export import is just that. Now that is also in VMware it is called OVA. With OVA file or OVF files, you can extensions. You can export a virtual machine in VMware. Here it's just straightforward called export and import, right? Main purpose, you can have that folder and then upload it on the cloud, and somebody else can download and import it in their Hyper-V environment, right? So we're gonna what we're gonna do, we're gonna export a virtual machine to our FS, and we're gonna import the same thing again to our same Hyper-V, but we're gonna change its name now, and IP as well. We don't have to change the IP because we didn't give a static IP.
The NYFS.
NYFS. So we're going to create a new machine from TorFS. We're going to call it NYFS. Exactly. Right? The only problem here is that it should not have the same SID, security identifier. Right? It should not have that. So there is, during the import, it's going to ask, this is a machine you're importing. Do you want to create a separate SID for that? I'm going to just select that. Yes, create a separate SID for that. I want this machine to be unique. I don't want this machine to be very, very totally similar to the first machine. So that's how we can import export. So some of the not very famous features are that you can actually make a second machine out of that. Otherwise, it's just simple export and import and take it to some other environment and import it again. Okay, guys. So do not use it in a production environment. Basically, what I'm saying here. Or use it with caution. We're about to do that, but you need to know what are the repercussions if in case you want to go this way to actually create another copy of the machine. Okay, one more point here is if you copy, suppose we copy VHDX and of TorFS and attach it to another VM as an existing disk. Now this VHDX has OS installed already inside, right? This VHDX has OS installed already. In copy paste, when you do a copy paste, you're not able to create a unique SID in that process. So it's just exact copy of the first one. You're just copy pasting a folder into another folder and then you're connecting it. You cannot introduce this in the same environment now. You have to take it to some other environment in some other domain, right? But in export import, let's us create a new SID of the VM being imported right now. A big benefit if you want to really import it as a machine, so import process will let you create a new SID for that. So if you go for copy paste, now that's going to be risky. If you want to go for copy paste process, just copy the folder and paste it again in the same environment. Then make sure that you start OS and run sysprep on this OS in order to get a unique SID. So you have to do it manually yourself. The import export process, it creates that SID for you during the procedure. During the wizard, it's going to create that SID for you, right? So copy paste will not create. So you have to start the OS when you've imported that and then run sysprep. And we know how to run day 1, day 2, we run sysprep, right? So go to run, type sysprep, double click and click generalize and just reboot. Sysprep is run. But if you copy paste like 10 machines, on all 10 machines, you have to run sysprep, which is a lengthy process. Better go for then this way. It's also lengthy process, not that lengthy, but it will just do it properly for you. Still, it is for export and export in this environment and import in another environment. Still, this is suitable for that. But you can use if it is giving you unique SID, you can use it in this environment as well. Okay, guys. So let's actually start doing that and see all the features there, right? So I'm just gonna go there. We're going to make sure that TourFS is shut down. I think it is shut down for everyone. Second thing, let's go to TourFS and actually export it in a C drive on our host local drive, right? Which is C drive. So let's go to our server 2 here. Let's go to our server 2. During the import or right after import, it will let us rename.
No, the first one.
Yeah. TourF VM01. Oh, okay. As a TourF. Actually, the next one we're gonna name as NYFS. When we have introduced that as that, then we're gonna put it as TourFS. We can just rename right click and there's a rename here. We can do that at that time when we have imported that. So right now, when we export and then import it again, it's gonna be still VM01. So we're gonna name it first as NYFS. So okay, guys, here if you are on VM01, right click and you see export option here, right? So let's go for export option, and if everyone sees that, click the export button. It simply asks where to export, right? So let's click browse here. Let's click browse, and on the left side you can see this PC, but of course I'm just going for the C drive directly here. C drive. And double click. Do we all see new folder here? So let's click the new folder here, right? And then exported VMs. You can create one folder. Whenever you export a VM, it creates its own separate folder. So I'm just gonna click that. In fact, select it, keep it selected like this, and click that button, select folder. So we're giving the path of a new empty folder where we're telling just go ahead and export all the files of this VM here. So click the select folder here, and now it should look like this. So export, of course, is very simple process, and it just needs a path of a folder, and go ahead and click the export button. And well, it is exported. So if it is exported, what's the proof? Let's go ahead and go down to that C drive and check that folder. If something was exported, something was created inside. So I'm just gonna go to the file explorer here and and then go to this PC, then go to C drive, and yes, there is exported VMs, and I hope we all see this folder VM01, right? We all see that in C drive, exported VMs. Now there should be a VM01, right? So C drive, yeah, VM01, and double click inside. So you have 3 folders here. One is snapshots, second is virtual hard disk, third is virtual machine, right? So if we go to the snapshots, are there any files inside? Okay, it did not export the snapshot, although we did create a snapshot for that. It did not export that. So export. Hey, I also did that. That's not fair. So okay, so does it have?
Oh, it can.
No.
It can try to show up.
Oh, it did not come from me. So it doesn't like me. Okay, anyway, so if it is personal likeness as well, So yeah.
If you close it and come back again, it will come.
Really? Okay. Please do appear. No, last time also we did that. It did not come, although, yeah, it doesn't like me. Okay, so that's a very good technical reason, and there you go. Last time also. We should have waited then. Seriously?
No patience.
No patience. Okay, so no patience as well. So we'll go for virtual hard disk here. We see two files there as well. Go for virtual machine here. We see two files there as well. Okay, yeah, it's good. It's now if we want to import the same file, same virtual machine in the same environment, we do not want the same ID, same SID there. We don't want the same name there. We don't need the same IP there. So question to you, will there be same IP when this machine is imported and started? Will there be an IP conflict if I import that machine? Forget the other things about the IP. Will there be an IP conflict if we import and start this machine now?
If you
Easy
not
has
select
the
the
same
same
state.
It does not have static IP. It's gonna get its new IP from DHCP.
Mhm.
So IP conflict, forget. It's not gonna have static IP. So no IP conflict is there. It doesn't have that. Second thing, will there be a name conflict? If you don't start the machine, when you import the machine, keep it shut down, right click and change the name of the virtual machine. And second thing, when you start the machine, don't connect it to a switch, virtual switch. Just go ahead and inside the operating system, change the name, and it's not gonna have name conflict as well, right? The main thing is if it's connected to the network right away and you start, of course there will be a same name. When you're trying to join it to the domain, it's gonna have a problem. So keep it separate from the network, start it, change the name. So no IP conflict, no name conflict. The main thing to worry about is SID, and in the import wizard you're gonna see that it's gonna ask, you want the existing SID, you want a new SID. That's the good thing about it. That makes us, gives us relief that okay, nearly everything is covered. Not nearly, everything is covered that is supposed to be covered. Yeah.
Why would we want a new, existing SID?
Existing SID is an option there if the first machine is either a partner in your active passive. But again, if this is a passive option, passive machine, still you need the unique SID there. Existing SID is there if the first machine is not working for some reason, or you want to shut it down and go for that. And if there are two existing SID options there, so we're going to see that and we're going to check about that. But definitely you will see, that's a logical question, that SIDs have to be unique, right? Why there would be an existing SID? So we're going to check that there as well. Okay, guys. So let's go ahead and import that. Minimize and how do we import? Are we back on Hyper-V? Right click this server 2. Do we see somewhere import virtual machine? The second one, this one. So go ahead and import virtual machine. Now we see the wizard there. Okay, before you begin, just ignore that. Next. Now it's saying where is that machine to import. So we go to browse and we know where that is, right?
Yeah.
So click browse here, go to this PC, go to just down C drive. What are we selecting here? Just the main folder, right? Because there are the main folder is this one, VM01. Select folder, because it's not asking for a file, it's asking for a folder. So select the main folder here, this one. So it should look like this now. Yeah.
You don't change the name of the machine.
That's the good thing about it, that if I was in a production environment, I would have changed here as well, but it will give us a chance before it starts there. So we will be able to import and it will show you two VM01s, but we will be able to rename the virtual machine. So virtual machine is just like, this enclosure here. So you can change the name, but the main problem comes when the two OS have the same name. So when we start ToRFS and we start NYFS, before starting ToRFS, just go start this one and change the OS name, restart it again, and you're good, right? So OS name is the main problem. The virtual machine name is not a main problem, although of course we cannot then recognize, so we have to change anyway. But over the network, it's not going to create errors, but still we will. So it will give us a chance to change the name.
That say
Yeah.
We have the same name for the virtual machine.
Yeah. Virtual machine, so it's not going to create any errors in Hyper-V.
No.
But we'll be confused which one is which, right?
Let's say it's over the network.
Yeah.
We try to ping the machine with the name, so there will be conflict in it.
When you ping a machine, it's the operating system name you're using for pinging.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying that the main concern is, of course, we're going to change the name
Yeah, sure.
of the machine. But we're going to, main concern would be that start the machine, change the name of the OS, and then restart it, and then you're good. So, yes, here in production environment, I would properly change the name here as well, in production environment, right? So here, let's just keep it like that because I want to show you more things there that, where it doesn't matter and where you have to make the changes there. So if you give this name here, the folder name, the path should look like this. If it is looking like this, go ahead and next. So it picks up that name. Select the virtual machine to import, and this is the virtual machine here, and then click next. Now here it is, register the virtual machine in place, restore the virtual machine. Restore means overwrite, of course, use the existing unique ID. Register the virtual machine in place, use the existing unique ID, use the existing. So restore means that you're overwriting the previous virtual machine that is already there will be then gone if you restore from backup, right? So that is, then there will be only one unique ID here. And copy the virtual machine, which means create a new unique ID. The third one is our. The second one is it's going to take away the previous machine and it's going to overwrite with this machine. First one is that if you want any one of the machine out running, but any one machine would be running at the same time. The other machine you have to shut down, but you don't want it to be overwritten. You don't want it to be deleted, right? So second option, overwrite the previous machine, which is having the same. First option, don't overwrite, but I want to use this one. That other one I'm going to shut down. When you have existing ID, you cannot introduce two machines at the same time. You cannot. So either you overwrite it or you just use one out of the two, right? But we're going to go for the copy the virtual machine. Now that is where it securely lets us get a unique ID virtual machine added. Now this is not the way to create clones because you might need clones, 5 or 10 clones at the same time. So this, you can also already see that it's a little longer procedure to create clones. Otherwise you can create 10 or 20 clones within few seconds. Okay, copy the virtual machine here. Yes, we need a unique SID for that. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna select the third option and click next. In a production environment, it would be some LUN there or EFG drive, which would have been added to this Hyper-V. But here we are just using the local drive here. So it is still saying store the virtual machine in a different location. You do not want to use this location. Go ahead and change the location. But we're going to use just this same location where all other virtual machines and virtual disks are already placed, right? So configuration file, checkpoint store, and smart paging. That's just for virtual machine. So we're going to use the same path and click next. Here, where do you want to store the imported virtual hard disk for this virtual machine? Now, the virtual machine hard disk name of the previous machine is vm01.vhdx. The hard disk name of this new machine would be also the same. So, where do you want to store the imported virtual hard disk for this virtual machine? Suppose we keep this. There cannot be two hard disks with the same name. They cannot be, right? So I'm just gonna click next here, and it's gonna say, "Whoa, vm01.vsd exists already. So why don't you give it a new name?" So it's not gonna let us go ahead. So click close here, and we can just give it some name, which is it is nyfs.vhdx. Please make sure the spellings are correct. NYFS. So we're going to later change the virtual machine name as well to NYFS, and we're just giving the hard disk name like that. So if we have put that, will it let us go ahead now? Because we're giving a new name. Yep. Oh, what happened? So it should just look exactly like that. No, you want it?
How are you? Go for it.
No, we should.
You want more? ML? Okay.
Just a minute.
Yeah. What happened?
Somehow the path got deleted.
Delete. Delete it. Well, we can cancel out. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can follow this. It's okay. Yeah. Now you can just type yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So if we have all put this path here, let's go ahead and click next. Preparing virtual hard disk destination. Loading page. So everyone got this error?
Yeah.
So what does it say? This page allows you to connect. So the following configuration errors were found for checkpoint VM01. Could not find Ethernet switch. That's the one we deleted. Specify the virtual switch you want to use on computer server 2. We have 3 switches actually, right? So let's go ahead and give it the external virtual switch or any virtual switch, but I'm just going for external virtual switch. Because we deleted that, and when we created that machine at that time, it was connected to this switch, so it's just saying, oh, that's not there. In its VMX file or configuration file, it is still, it's in configuration file, it is still this switch, so that's why I remembered that. So if you give the other switch, it's okay. It should not be any problem. So click next here. Yes, it's okay. Now this machine will be imported as VM01. Yes, we could have changed there as NYFS, but we can change here as well after import as well. Okay, so click finish. Well, nobody got an error, right? Not yet. No. You're expecting one? No errors, please. Okay. Wow. 740. Microsoft really wants us to be very tough. And if you're thinking this is tough, wow, you're in for a big roller coaster.
41.
7.740. It's this course. Failover cluster, WSUS, WDS. Live migration is coming now actually, so that's gonna be all fun. Fun, right? WDS has 6 labs. Well, I can make it 1 lab only, but we need to really be production environment oriented. So, what? Is it done for anyone?
Yeah.
Hey, that's not fair. It's not done for me. These machines are too fast. That's not good. Let's just copy back to C drive. Wow. So my machine sucks.
I'm with you.
Oh, really? Okay. Here's a relief.
We can change the reference for the NYFS.
Yes. If your machines have been created, go right click, there, go to rename, and just name it NYFS. I was gonna, whenever I'm done. So you can rename your virtual machine. Now you just saw that there were 2 machines with the same name, right? But there were no errors, right? So, but we can rename it now. But its folder structure is still, in production environment, I would have properly done that. This folder structure, I would just put that machine somewhere else, put it NYFS here, and then actually import it as other machine. Okay, I'm done as well. So which one is the older one? Which one is the new one? How did you know that? The bottom one? Are you sure it is the new one? Why? Because it's the bottom, right? Okay.
It has a date.
It has a date. So VM01, if we click the second one here and go way down here, So this is 11:10:8:38. If I go to first one, it is 11:03 9 o'clock. So definitely the date below will tell us as well. And okay, so I'm just gonna right click here if it is done. So I'm just gonna right click and rename this second one here to, as we planned, NYFS. So NYFS. Okay, so now we have two machines here, NYFS, and let's rename the other one, the first one, which is TorFS. So New York file server and Tor or Toronto file server. So I'm just going to right click VM01 and rename and TorFS, this one, right? So have you all done that? Okay, TorFS. Now these two machines are showing here. Let's go for the next. If we track our progress in the diagram, this one. So yes, we imported and exported. We talked about that. We saw the features of import export. For one or two new machines, it's good idea. But when it comes down to a lot of machines, we better have SCVMM there that should be able to create as a central application a lot of clones for you with a lot of advanced features as well. So but we did that sublab. Now our main scenario is that now we have two machines here. Let's go for two external switches here now. And in order to have two external switches, we must have two physical network cards as well. So the external switch we have just now, let's rename it to EXTOR-SW, and then go ahead and create a new external switch and a new network card and attach it to that new network card as well. So let's go. The first step would be rename our current external switch to EXTOR-SW according to the diagram. So I'm just going to go back there, server 02 and virtual switch manager, server 02 virtual switch manager. Let's go there, and we have our external virtual switch already created there. So I'm just gonna select the external virtual switch directly. I have a name here, so it's EXTOR-SW, EXTOR-SW. So in a production environment, you would have lots of weird names there for external switches, internal switches, private switches. So you would just go by whatever you planned there. So if we select that and click anywhere else, has it changed the name for everyone? So let's go down and apply. If we have put that EXTOR-SW, click apply and press OK. Now we have one external switch created. Now let's just go for second external switch, right? So if we right click here, server 2, and go to virtual switch manager again, virtual switch manager again, and now new virtual network switch here, right? And is it already on external? So we're doing correct steps, right? Okay. So if we are on external, let's click the create virtual switch, because we need the second external switch. And what's the name of the second external switch here? XNYSW, exactly. So the second external switch I'm about to create is XNYSW, external New York switch. And let's just create it, right?
Change the external network.
Yeah. Can we change the external network, right? So it's going to take that, right? So we have a physical network card here, right? So if we have a physical network card, let's go ahead and apply that, right? So let's click apply. Hey, somebody's saying no already. What's wrong here? Oh, yeah. Why are you saying no?
President, did we change the external as for New York as well? Or
See this? So we went for this
new switch?
and then click create virtual switch, and then we put here EXNY switch. Yes.
Because we don't have
Because there's
second
already-
network card, physical network card.
We already
We need to
using
connect to that external virtual switch to a second physical
Okay.
network card.
Anyone agrees to that? I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. Yeah. You were saying?
because we already associated this physical link to the previous one.
To one
So you
virtual
can't
network
use it.
switch.
So we cannot use the second one? Are you sure?
What was the question?
Okay. we're in the middle of thinking very hard here. Oh, is that gonna be possible or not? And are you sure? Are you really sure about it? And what was the question?
I'm sorry, I know I have my.
Yeah,
ears
no, I'm just kidding.
slow.
I was just enjoying the situation,
I know.
Yeah, I was putting a lot more trap here.
We can use the same.
He asked the same
We
question.
need another.
No.
What was the question? Okay, yeah.
We
So-
need another network.
Yeah, that. So, okay, the question was that we're creating a second switch. Let's click, we cannot select second network card here. So, if we click apply here, I'm just going to go ahead and click apply and press yes. Apply changes. And it's going to say failed while adding virtual Ethernet connections. And external network adapter, blah, 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 is already bound to the, exactly as you said, exactly as you said. So, we all understand that one external switch,
And that's
One
physical.
one physical. That's what we discussed on the start. So close. Okay. Until we see here two network cards, we cannot create another external switch here. So click cancel here. Cancel. We cannot go anywhere else. So let's quickly. So this is me going to the market and buying a new physical network card and coming back to the server and asking for a downtime. And on Friday night, I just go down to the data center or go up to the data center, wherever that is, and then open the network card, open the physical server and put the network card, come back here, and then do this. Well, first of all, let's do that in virtual way, which is right-click server 2 and add a second network card here. So right-click server 2, settings, and do we all see the add button here? Add, and do we see network adapter? Okay, select the network adapter, click next. Everyone there, right? Yeah.
Cancel the.
Yeah, if there's a credentials, click no. Click no to credentials. Click no to credentials. Network adapter? No. And next. And then go for custom. We're not going to be testing our ping there or mail flow there or data flow there. But still, which VMnet are we using for our current? 13. Okay. So just go for that and click finish. VMnet 13. So it should look like this now. Two network cards here, right? But now we have second network card to be available to be mapped for second external switch. If we want to have third external switch, we need to have third external card as well. Third physical network card as well. So press OK here. It's gonna add. Now let's format that network card. Okay. Why did I laugh right away? Okay. It's for the disks, not for the network card. We don't format network cards. Right? Okay. So anyway, network card should be there. Now, if it was E6i server in VMware, you would have to restart the Hyper-V hypervisor for VMware. In Hyper-V, this is still hypervisor 2, so no, I cannot compare that. Sorry, that was a bad comparison. So I'm talking about hypervisor 1 of VMware, and so I should be talking about hypervisor 1 of Hyper-V as well. Then I should say that you have to restart the hypervisor. Here it's hypervisor 2. So anyway, this is for test environment anyway. So guys, let's go ahead and server 2. Go to server 2 here, and create that virtual switch manager. Go to that virtual switch manager again, and go to external network card again. Are we all there? So click create virtual switch again, and EXNYSW. But do we see two network cards here now? All right, number 2 there. Okay, so external virtual switch, second network card. Let's select the second network card there, and so X stored SW is there, XNYSW is there now as well. And yes, there's no VLAN here, so we're okay with apply and yes. Okay, applying changes. Okay, so far so good, right? So if it is done and you see two external switches here, so press OK. Now, obviously, if we go back to our diagram here, you're going to see that this TORFS is supposed to be connected to Tor switch and NYFS is supposed to be connected to NY switch here, right? But these switches are external virtual switches are already connected to their physical network cards. We did not rename the physical network cards there, but they are connected actually to those specific network cards. And in a production environment, you would have to be careful that if you want the data flow to be separate, you need to know exactly which network card your external switch is connected to, right? So, and then from there, you can just connect it to the physical switch with an Ethernet cable. So here, let's go to TorFS and connect it to EXTOR and NYFS to EXNY. And then go for the last scenario of this lab. So if we go down here, so I'm just going to TorFS first, the virtual machine, right click and settings of TorFS. So right click and settings of TorFS, and here way down to network adapter. If we go way down to network adapter, in my case it is already connected to EXTOR switch. So I'm just going to go to NYFS and do the same thing connect it to NYFS. If it is already connected, I don't have to do anything here. Still press OK, go out, go for NYFS, right click, settings, go to network adapter. This needs to be connected to NYFS, NYSW, sorry. So NYFS has to be connected to NYSW switch here. So it seems like our data flow is working fine. We are pretending that this external switch is connected to a physical network card that is actually connected to a physical switch that is only responsible for New York traffic there. So I'm just going to go apply here because I connected my NYFS virtual machine to the external switch, NY switch. But so till now, everything is clear what we're doing. Are we clear with the concepts and everything, right? So then suppose after 6 months the boss says no, don't disturb the current data flow, but please have those two machines connected to an private switch or internal switch. Most probably private switch. So now you cannot disturb the current data flow. What do you do now? Create a?
Private.
We have a private switch. So what do we do now? We cannot disturb the current data flow, and we need those two machines to be connected to the private switch as well. Tell me what is my next step right now.
Add a unique part.
Where?
Like a host.
In the host, we already added one net card, so there are two.
We will add another one and then.
Okay,
find
so
private.
in the server 2, you want a third network card added.
No, on the VM itself, the TorFS,
Mm-hmm.
we would add another private.
I don't know. Well, do you agree or do you disagree?
I would add a
Create a
new.
VLAN.
I'm not creating a VLAN. I will be creating a new network adapter on one in NYFS, one in TorFS. I'll add both to private network.
Mhm.
That's it. Fine.
Anyone agrees to that?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
And we want private, right? So
Do you agree with that? Anyone else?
I'm not sure.
You said the same thing, right?
Yeah, I said.
The same thing.
Look it up, right?
And then
You
we
said
will
same
connect
thing.
to the private switch.
So you're also agreeing to that. Anyone else want to agree to that? We will only agree if we understand that, what he said. Or, if you don't agree, what is the reason you're not agreeing to that? So, how can I connect NYFS to private switch when it is already connected to an external switch? And I cannot disturb that. It will stay there and I will still be able to connect to private switch. So, yeah, what you guys said is true. Exactly. So we are adding second virtual NIC inside the virtual machine itself. So I'm going to go to TorFS, right click. We already have a private switch, right? We just need a second network card inside each virtual machine that needs to be connected to the private switch. So let's go to TorFS and let's go to settings here. And you can see on the top, add hardware. This is the virtual hardware, right? So virtual RAM, virtual network card, virtual hard disk, virtual display card can be added here. So go to add hardware here, and then what are we adding here?
Network.
Network adapter. And let's go to add, and there's a second network card here, and now it says which virtual switch. So we go to
Private.
private. That was done. So first network card is connected to external for TorFS. Second network card is connected now to private virtual switch, right? So if we click, go ahead and apply an OK, and do the same for NYFS as well. So right click again, go to settings, add hardware. Now that's our virtual hardware we're adding, network adapter, click add, and then we go for private switch here as well. Now one virtual machine is connected to external network as well as private network if they want to copy the files to each other, right? Press OK. Another question to you is, will this network card get an IP from DHCP or not? Will the second network cards that we added to each machine will get an IP from DHCP or not?
No, because
From
this is
DHCP?
from the private network.
From DHCP. Yeah.
So it's not going to get it.
So you're saying no?
No.
No? Anyone? Will the second network cards that are connected to the private switch will get an IP from our DHCP that is sitting in server 1? Yes or no? No?
Virtual machine is
So if I show this diagram to you, they are now connected to private switch as well. This is the connection we just made now. This is the connection we just made now. So will this network card and this network card, which are connected only to the private switch now, will they get a DHCP IP which is coming from server 01, a second server here? You're saying no? So there are some new contenders here. Yes, no? No? Yes, does. This is Mr. Teacher, respected teacher. Yes, does. Yeah. Hey, that population is increasing now. What's the question now? What? Okay. Welcome back. This means to the class. So where we, so okay, guys, we added one new network card here to TorFS, and when we added one new network card here to NYFS. So first network card the firsts of both were connected to external switch. The seconds of both are connected to private switch. Now if the first ones are connected to external switch, external means they can communicate to outside world. Outside world has DHCP as well. So if they're connected to external switch, they will be able to communicate to the network card to the DHCP here. DHCP is sitting here right now. But if they are connected to private switch, will they be able to communicate with this DHCP that is in the other server? No? 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 No?
You explain everything.
Actually, I explain the answer right now. Okay. So, but definitely, we understand that. The main thing is, are we understanding? If we're not understanding, we are wasting our time. Exactly. Let's watch Netflix. Okay. Oh. There's a new movie? Okay. If there's any merit one, let me know. Oh, actually, they do email everyone. So, okay. So, DHCP. And so definitely with private switch has no communication with the physical network card. Internal switch, private switch are not connected with physical network cards. So through this network card cannot get an IP from DHCP because if they're connected to a private switch, which is a dead end, it doesn't take them anywhere. They communicate with just each other, right? So we understand private switch, internal switch, external switch. We see their uses in the production environment. There could be those scenarios here that you have to create while you need to keep it. So keeping the data with one switch, data flow and communicating all virtual machines with one switch is easy. But when you have to actually separate the data flow, that's where the complication comes. And that's what we try to see here, that yes, we can easily keep the data flow totally separate. And that's very easy. So you can see from diagrams and what components you can touch, what components you can create easily. Yeah. And so that's how we can create that. Yeah. Right? So let's go ahead, guys, and try to understand. So any questions till now? Any questions till now? Right? So what is pass-through switch and differencing disk? Oh, pass-through disk, not switch. Okay, so we talked about networking here, and that's major components are here. If this was a VMware course, you would see a lot more because vCenter is involved with the VMware course. Here, Hyper-V separate course, you will see SCVMM as well. Or if you go for SCVMM course, then you will see a lot of advanced features there. Yeah, so already, yeah, this is complicated. I understand that. But do we understand that all, right? What we did. So let's go for, so we talked about, yeah, here. So 3 types of switches here. And this one. Oh, that's, the morning class is also 70-740. They are on WDS. So these are the slides, these are the diagrams of those guys. So we're going to be doing these as well. So you got a lot in your plate right now. Okay, anyway, if we are understanding, we're going fine. We're going at our pace, there is no hurry, and we're understanding everything, right? So let's go ahead and try to check this second option or second area, which is just 2 labs here, and they're very small labs. What we need to understand is types of storage. Their storage is a big topic in Microsoft, but we're going to go for Hyper-V related 2 specific topics for storage, which is one is pass-through disk, and second is differencing disk. So very simple concepts here, and first is pass-through disk, second is differencing disk. So I'm just gonna create that machine here. The pass-through disk concept is called RDM or raw device mapping in VMware, and it is called here pass-through disk. Exactly same concepts in VMware and Hyper-V, the 2 big competitors. Now the concept here is that virtual machine is sitting here, and you have decided, you've installed of course an OS on top of it, Windows Server 2016, and then you are planning to install SQL Server 2016, which is the latest one, and that's heavy. So it does a lot of reads and writes. Suppose you have 3 or 4 enterprise applications that will be creating databases inside this SQL Server. So database 1, database 2, database 3. So each database will have a lot of connectivity of the application. So they will put a lot of data inside these databases. Now you can already realize that, oh, that's gonna create a lot of IOPS, storage IOPS, input output per second, right? Put per second. So what happens here, a lot of reads and writes will be generated here. So users will be connecting to databases, and they will be putting a data inside, and they will be retrieving data from here. They will be modifying data. So data input, data retrieval, and data modifications, data search. So all these requires processing and memory is required, but also that read and write is going on. So it's reading on the disk, writing on the disk, reading and writing, reading and writing. So what happens here is that if you have a virtual disk here, now of course it's not if you have a virtual disk. So this machine, suppose, is called TorFS. TorFS is a file server, which actually it's not a file server. It's Tor SQL. It's a SQL server file, Toronto SQL server. So you have a Tor SQL. It has to have a hard disk, right? So So Tor SQL VHDX file is there as well. Now it is writing all the data to that virtual disk here, and it is reading from this virtual disk all the data as well. Writing to a virtual disk. What if? So you see, this performance is very bad. Retrieval is taking time, modification is taking time, users are complaining, applications are showing data very slow. So you get a lot of complaint that there is degradation of performance overall. So there's that concept of pass-through disk. What that means is that instead of using a virtual disk, you give this virtual machine access to a physical disk directly. So give access to a physical disk directly instead of on a virtual disk. Now, if you install a virtual machine on a physical disk, the reads and writes will be much faster than a virtual disk. So a virtual disk is actually, of course, all the things are located on your SAN here, right? So if I go for SAN, so actually disks are coming over the network from there, right? So this virtual disk is sitting on a LAN or a remote disk here somewhere. But what about if you are actually sending those reads and writes to the virtual disk, and it goes to the hypervisor, then the command goes to a virtual disk, and then it translates it to the storage, and then the reads and writes are going. So instead of going through these things, why don't you? It's not a local disk. Sorry, it's not a local. In the production environment, it's not a local disk. Did I just put physical disk? Right. So I created a local disk here. It's not a local disk, and I did not write here local disk as well. So what about instead of using the Tor VHDX, you are using a direct physical disk here or a LAN. So you will suppose you create your company buy a $10,000 3 terabyte SSD for EMC SAN, NetApp SAN, right? So you give direct access, this virtual machine, a direct access to a LAN or a disk on your SAN instead of, so you're not going to be dealing with any virtual disk now for your second disk. So first disk could be a virtual disk which is having OS, but the second disk can be actually a physical disk where you can put your SQL server. So first disk is having your OS, which is virtual disk. Second disk could be your SQL server, and SQL server is directly writing on the whole disk and directly reading from the whole disk, physical disk. So it will immensely increase the speed of reading the data, writing the data, modifying the data, searching the data, right? So pass-through disk just means you pass through the virtual disk. Instead of virtual disk, you're going directly to a physical disk. You're installing your application on the physical disk, and you're putting all your data on the physical disk, and then all the customers are actually reading and writing, creating the files there, reading the files from there, from the physical disk instead of the virtual disk. We just changed our HDD to SSD, right?
Yeah.
There was a big reason. So that's exactly the reason we're talking about here. Well, not exactly. Suppose this virtual disk was actually on SSD. You still want to bypass the more software hops. I'm using that term. There's no term as software hops. There's no software hops. There's only hops, per device or per routers you have hops. But there are some endpoints there. There are points where through which the requests have to go through. Instead of that, you give direct access, application direct access to a raw physical disk here. So it is just like you buy a new server, install an operating system, install an application on the physical server with local physical disks being used. That is the most effective way to run a very heavy application, right? That really requires storage IOPS there, input output per second. So the main idea is don't use VHDX for the application, go directly to a physical disk and go ahead and use that, the whole thing, right? Do you understand the concept of pass-through disk? That is called RDM in VMware, that is called pass-through in Hyper-V, right? The concept is use directly a physical disk. Do you understand that? Raw device mapping. Raw device mapping. Yeah, this weird name. So, guys, the lab is so simple. in order to actually see, hey, where do we actually add that physical disk in our Hyper-V? So let's go back to our VMware environment. Oh, seriously, VMware. Actually, so VMware's last class this Sunday, and so we'll be finished with that. Okay, so server 2 here. Now, first of all, let's go to NYFS here, NYFS, virtual machine. Let's go back to our Hyper-V, and NYFS and settings. I want to show you where the physical disk is supposed to appear. Okay, so settings, and then you go down to SCSI controller here, actually not here. So if you go down to hard disk here, hard drive, now here the virtual disk path is showing and the physical hard disk is grayed out, right? Because we don't have an extra physical disk here, right? So let's add one, because you can see now it is grayed out. But once you have a physical disk that is unformatted, you don't format that, right? It will start automatically showing here. If it has an unused disk, it's going to show here automatically. If that disk is being used by someone, it's not going to show here, right? So physical disk, if we see that nothing, it is grayed out for everyone, right? It is grayed out. So everyone is grayed out? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, so cancel. And let's add a new disk. So this is again just like I was saying that I would go to the shop and get a new network card. Now I'm going to shop and getting a new disk here and trying to add that to either the SAN solution or to this if you're using the local disk in a small company. So I'm just going to go server 2, right click and settings. Settings. And then go to add on server 2, and hard disk is already selected for everyone, right? So hard disk, if you click see that option, just click no for that credentials, right? So hard disk and click next here, and then SCSI, yeah, it's okay, next. Create a new virtual disk, yeah, it's okay, next. So this is a physical disk we're treating here in server 2, because server 2 is the host, right? So in a production environment it will be a physical disk you'll be dealing with. So here anything 200 GB, I don't know. So 200 GB instead of 60 GB, and it is thin provision. Otherwise, if you click that, it will be thick provision. Then you need that physically available on the physical disk. But we're not going to click this one. Allocate all disk space. We're not going to click that. So click next, and this is the name of that new disk that we are adding here, which is the name of the machine. So we're going to click finish here. So now it's going to look like this: 100 GB, which is actually the host disk here already, on top of which the C drive, the operating system and the Hyper-V is installed, and the virtual machine files are there. 200 GB is a raw disk. It has not been used. It has not been formatted yet. It's a totally new disk right now, right? So let's click OK here. Now the host has a new disk that is not touched, not been used before. So let's directly go to NYFS again, the virtual machine, and click the settings again. And if we go down to the hard drive, now you see a selectable, don't select it, selectable disk here. It was not showing here before, right? Now it is showing here, and we can actually select it, but we have an operating system here for this virtual machine in the virtual disk, which is okay, right? So all we need to do is just go to SCSI controller and go for a new drive here, because this will be our second disk that will be actually a raw disk, SSD directly, right? So second disk you can install application easily. So SCSI controller and hard drive, click the add button here. Everyone there? Once you click the add button, now you can select physical disk here. So second drive, physical disk, first drive, virtual disk, which is just operating system, right? Second drive will have the SQL files there, and all users can connect to that, retrieve, and so it will give the performance of a actual raw disk there.
If you have selected the physical hard disk
Here.
step before,
Oh.
directly
Yeah, you'll lose all your data.
You will lose your operating system first.
Right.
So operating system will not even load.
Right.
So for a new machine you can do that, for a totally new machine. But it is a working machine here having already operating system.
Right.
We cannot do that. So hard drive, physical disk, we selected all. So click apply and OK. right? Everyone see that? Okay, so what's the proof? Like we can just right click NYFS and click start. That disk should be showing inside the disk management of this NYFS operating system, right? So click start here, NYFS. It's gonna start that Windows 2016, and all we need to do is log in and just check. Oops, okay. It says here denied error, blah blah blah. Account does not have permission to open attachment. General error, access denied. Failed to power on, general error, virtual machine ID. Service account does not have permission to open attachment. Are you kidding me? If we give ourselves full rights on that folder, we will be able to do that. But right now we have 15 minutes left. So guys, instead of attaching that disk to that, so guys, let's go to NYFS, remove it from there and add it to ToRFS, because either we can do troubleshooting or we can just make this lab successful. So I'm just going to go to NYFS again, settings, and remove the second disk here. Second disk, I'm selecting in NYFS. And do we have the remove here on the right side? Click the remove, because we need to detach it in order to attach it to the second virtual machine. It cannot be attached to both virtual machines at the same time. So yeah,
Deleted that.
second drive. So again, are you on NYFS here?
Settings. And then
And settings, go to second drive, click on the second drive, and on the right side, do you see remove?
yeah, okay.
Okay. Apply. Okay, it has been detached from the NYFS. Go to ToRFS now and actually attach it as a second drive there. Go to ToRFS, go to settings again.
Hard drive.
Yeah, so here's SCSI controller. Click the SCSI controller, then go to hard drive, click add. That's the second drive now, physical disk. It's now available. If we had not detached that, it would not appear here. Apply. Okay, and quickly start ToRFS. Right, click to start ToRFS.
Why did we get that message on?
I think we don't have permission on that folder, that Hyper-V. So, but we need to, because we need it for the next lab as well. So we need to T-shoot that and give that permission. We're gonna make it work. So ToRFS here, guys, is it starting?
Yep.
So right click and connect here as well. So first we started that machine. Let's click connect here
While it's running. That's right.
while it's running. We can connect while it is start, while it is running. It's okay. Anytime you can connect. Guys, all we need to do is go to disk management and just prove that physical disk is showing there as a unused disk, as an unformatted disk. So it has already started. I'm just gonna, we were able to log into that before as well, easily, right? So I'm just gonna go log into the local administrator here. I'm logged in, and here I'm just gonna go make this very larger screen, and right click here inside the machine to go to computer management, because disk management is there. This one, disk management. We all see disk management. Right click, and once we click the disk management after right clicking, it's here. When you right click on the Windows, disk management.
It's starting.
Oh, okay. So once we click the disk management, do we all see that? Okay, it's still loading. Oh, we could have gone to file and storage as well. Okay, there it is. Yes, that's a 200 GB disk. This one. That's the physical disk. We format it, we bring it online, and then we format it, and then we install SQL on that instead of the first one, and then we get the speed, right? But when you go for live migrations, you have to make sure it is connected to a pass-through disk. We're going to be, in next class, we're going to be going for live migration and replicas. That's a little more high availability. So then we're going to be making sure that, that is a pass-through disk, so I better not live migrate it, or what are the precautions. We're going to talk about that. But this is pass-through disk. Differencing disk, we're going to... Next class?
Yes.
You just hurt my feelings now. Weren't you enjoying this all? Okay, just kidding. So, yeah, okay, let's do it in next class on Monday. And we don't have a statutory holiday on Monday. Dinesh, you know that?
No.
We're not closing, right? The college is not closing.
There's no celebrity holidays in November.
Yeah.
After Thanksgiving, it's only Christmas and.
Well, normally they close everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, find out for you.
No, I'm not looking for it. Yeah. So okay, guys. So see you on Monday. Hmm?
They don't close it.
Okay.
They hope to.
Okay. Cool. Veterans Day, right?
Huh?
Veterans Day.
Yeah, they.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. So on Monday we're gonna continue. We're gonna have another machine here for live migration after doing the differencing disk here. So let's shut down this VM first. So I'm just gonna from inside VM just shut it down and continue. Shut down. Shut down. Shut down.
And
Mhm.
we're going to remove the virtual machines from the C drive, huh?
So I'm gonna remove that. Yeah. So guys, let's just shut down all the machines. And server 1, right click, power, shut down guest. Server 2, right click, power, shut down guest. So I hope everyone is repeating the labs at home and taking all the screenshots. Stopping the video now.